Hey everyone, One Big Boss here, and we are finally back to reviews after a long hiatus. So to start Season 2 off the right way, I decided to choose this particular game, being as I have been rewatching this series on Netflix. Haven't watched this TV series for a long time, and now that it's on there, I might as well have given it a shot, you know? So, let's get into Season 2, Episode 22, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie for the Super Nintendo. It's Morphin Time! The game's development was handled by Natsume, one of my favorite video game developers due to them creating one of my favorite childhood games of all time, which is also probably one of my top favorite video games of all time. Which many of you, if have been following me since the beginning of all these reviews, you know that I've named this title 1,000 times in the past. But everybody should know it as Pocky and Rocky. But, like the previous Power Ranger game, the SNES, Sega Game Gear, and the Game Boy versions were all different. Which, with the first series of games, I enjoyed the change-up of that, but as for the movie versions, I never played anything. I didn't play the Sega one, or the Game Boy one, or the Game Gear one, sadly. So I probably should do that at one point, because all the different ones they made for the original Power Rangers one, how the Sega one was a fighting one, that was pretty interesting, which, again, I gotta go back and start playing that and probably do a review on that at one point. The plot for the game, well, much like the first Power Ranger game, there really isn't one. While it takes on the movie name for the title, it is far different than the movie itself, in which many of the monsters you see are from Season 2 of the TV series, even though Ivan Ooze is the last boss of the video game. So with not much story, let's just jump into the gameplay, shall we? The SNES version is a side-scrolling action game with similarities to the previous installment. This time around, the game is a two-player from the get-go, instead of having the Zord/monster battles with the help of a code in the first game to enable a two-player co-op mode, or a battle mode. Billy and Kimberly are the only original returning Power Rangers in this game. Joining them this time around is new Rangers Adam, Rocky, and Aisha, and of course the most powerful and probably most popular Power Ranger, Tommy, who is now the White Ranger, because for some odd reason in the last game, he wasn't in there, and around the series continuity time and all that stuff, the Green Ranger was in the show. But he retains the green flash when he teleports into a stage in a green and white outfit, so he's the White Ranger now. They didn't have him in the first game, guess we gotta deal with it. The game's pretty old, so why bitch about it, right? You start off the game as the unmorphed Rangers and fight your way through putty-infested streets and dangerous warehouses, all the while building up the morphing meter, which you see down here at the bottom of the grid, by beating up enemies and collecting the lightning bolts dropped by them. In addition, the meter allows you also to utilize a special attack. Each Ranger has a different one, though some aren't as effective or smart to use as others. In the end, it ends up costing you meter and just makes it a little bit difficult, because I usually save the meter to morph when my health is getting low, so I don't lose lives, because 1-ups are pretty hard to come by, so sometimes these special attacks aren't that special to use. You can morph at any point when you fill up the morphing meter, and you become stronger and also gain new abilities, as well as replenishing any lost health from fighting. During this morph, it acts as sort of a bomb, destroying any on-screen enemies. Something about the animation flashing and actually just doing the morphing just screams retro goodness from my childhood. Probably also gave me a seizure or two. Not too sure on that yet, though. When morphed, your attacks become stronger, and you can easily defeat enemies that were once tougher before, and that's a pretty good thing. Gameplay for this sequel has changed up a little bit, whereas you can jump from one area to another, similar to the Fatal Fury style. This also must be done to get by busted areas or places that are on fire as well. As you can see by that car hitting them, you can pretty much trap enemies into getting hit by cars, or, you know, tricking them into different areas and knocking them down holes, or, you know, setting them up to be hit. It's pretty much all there. It was actually very interesting to do this, because this is a way that I avoid taking damage from unnecessary battles or being sneak attacked. Also new to this game, your life bar is now 4 pink blocks of health. This is something older players from the first game should be aware of, because, as you know, you had a much bigger bar of life, which you could keep improving by finding health packs and food throughout the levels. This time around, though, you can only get 4 blocks of health, and it's kind of it makes the boss battles and pretty much the whole level itself harder, especially if you don't have a partner to rely on to watch your back. So use items wisely, and also to get your health back to full health, you can morph, as you know, but like I said, you gotta watch out in this game, because the harder modes, and if you're playing with a friend, if I remember correctly, playing with a friend, you don't get to share any health packs. There are no separate ones, so eat those burgers wisely and find the 1-ups and don't waste them. Okay, now for the part that everybody loves and hates, but like I always say, it's gotta be done. So let's start off with the bad this time. Well, much like the original video game, the graphics haven't changed too much. They still look good, but nothing too impressive. You gotta remember that this game came out a year after the original, and when the first one came out, they were pretty far along into the original series, out into Season 2, because Season 2 is where most of these monsters come from. Again, not that big of a problem. The other problem I had with this game was the choice of monsters. I wasn't too impressed with the choice. If you're going to ignore the movie itself, pretty much like they did with this game, you could have chosen more classic monsters or something like that. I mean, you know, I do remember Magnetic Brain, but most of the other monsters in the game, I didn't really remember, except for Silverhorn. He was like the only other one I remember, because he was one of my favorites. Again, not that big of a deal, but still. My final complaint for this game, and this is the big one for me, is that there's no freaking Megazord battle whatsoever. I mean, come on. That was the coolest part of the movie and the TV show, especially since at this point in this series they had the Ninja Zord. Again, that is my favorite one to this date. I mean, the movie ended with a Zord battle, pretty much every episode ended with one. I know many of you are just saying just play the fighting game they made. I love that game, but it's not the point, because when you played the original Power Rangers game, that was cool. I mean, yeah, you were only the Megazord, but you could put the code in so you could be Mutacious or whatever, which one that was called, and what was the other one? And Psychopsis. So to me, that would have made this even better, because after making a hit movie like they did, and, you know, pleasing the fans and everything, you'd think they would put in a cool Zord battle, because the Ninja Megazord was good. Maybe it was because they were already working on the fighting edition at that point, and they didn't feel the need to put it in, but still, to me, I kind of feel cheated, because if I'm going to go online and buy this game, like a lot of other people did for like $30, I would kind of want the Zord battle. Okay, don't worry. As much as I said some bad things about this game, there's still a lot of things we need to point out that is awesome about it. To start off, it's the Power Rangers. Enough said, right? Childhood memories, awesomeness, it's great. Also, I did enjoy the 2-player co-op, because hard mode actually gave you a run for its money, and, you know, it's very, very tough to beat even by yourself, due to some of the bosses and the lack of life, because you only get like 4 bars. These kind of 2-player games were really fun back in the day, and honestly, it's Natsume who developed this game, so right there, you know you gotta win yourself a winning game. Perfect. Enough said on that part. And last but not least, we come to the replay value. Yeah, it ain't much, and the secret code you get at the end of the game just makes it so the Rangers start off in their morph forms, which is kind of pointless, I don't understand that. But the game is still a challenge with or without a friend to play, and it's definitely a classic that people should at least play, or serious collectors should have in their collection. And for the wrap up and final thoughts. So, should you buy this game? Does it stand up to the original? Well, they are both good games, and if you are a Power Rangers fan or a retro lover like myself and want a good, challenging 2-player game to play, this is a great game to own. It's a bit pricey online, but for $30 you can't go wrong. And like I've said before, you know, 2-player games like these were really, really fun back in the day, and if you're tired of the new generation and want to play some old school games on a rainy day, this is definitely one of those games to get. Alright everybody, episode 22 is over, and now we're moving on. Put away your morphers and get ready to experience classic 90s cartoon characters. They're tiny, they're toony, hell, we're all a little loony. Episode 23 will be reviewing Tiny Toon Adventures Buster Busts Loose for the Super Nintendo. So, like always, if you haven't, please subscribe because it's free, and in this day and age, read's a damn good thing. Also stalk us on Facebook and tweet us on Twitter too, because we have those. Leave us your thoughts and comments about the show and everything else we do here, because me and everybody else, we love to read them. So again, everybody, it's great to be back after such a long hiatus on doing reviews, and hopefully it goes more smooth and I keep pumping out reviews for everybody, because I know the feedback I've gotten from people is extraordinary, and it makes me really just want to do the best I can for everybody. So, again, thank you everybody for all your support. I'll keep doing what I'm doing, and until then, I will see you all next time.